combination review of this Schecter P Custom bass and also the Nordstrand Power Blade pickup right here. This is a bass that I've had for, it'll be 9 years this year, and it's the bass that I've owned the longest. I had one up until very recently, a little bit longer than this one, but I have recently sold that. So this is now the, I'll give a little bit of backstory. In 2012, I bought my first 5-string bass, and I had only been playing for a couple of years at that point. I started about 2007 or so, but there was a time period in there that I started dropped out of playing bass altogether and started to get back into it. Got a 5-string, sold my 4-string, learned on my Ibanez, got used to the narrow string spacing, all this fun stuff. And then that bass had a defective bridge and had to be returned to the guitar store that I bought it from. They gave me my money back instead of fixing it. So I was playing at church only, and I started to look into, I did something that I don't recommend. I started to see what do all these church people who are playing the contemporary Christian music, what do they play? They play jazz basses. Okay, nowadays it's more of a P bass thing, but I was looking for 5-string jazz basses. So I ordered 2. I got a Squire Active jazz bass, which is a sunburst one with an ebonol fingerboard. You can find those. It felt wider spacing than this. It just felt not great. Tone was pretty cool. I don't know, I didn't love it, so I returned it. Then I got a Vintage Modified, which is a series that is now gone. A Vintage Modified Squire jazz bass 5-string and white with the block inlays and the maple fretboard. I was so excited. It showed up and they had cut the nut too low for the A string. And I had a very short debate internally. Do I keep this? No, it's brand new. I shouldn't have to fix this. I'm gonna return it. And then shortly after that, I looked on eBay and I saw this bass, and I was like, okay, Schecter. I know Schecter. I like Schecter. This thing looks cool. It's very different. It's 5-string. It's like a P bass style with 2 pickups. I knew that Fluff on YouTube had a blue 4-string one, so that was actually a contributing factor. I got it, and I was so happy with this bass, guys. It was like, I don't know how to explain it. I was very happy, and to this day, well, now I understand why I like it so much, but back then I didn't quite get it. Now what I understand is that the 16-inch fretboard radius, which is really flat, combined with medium frets, these are not very tall, it makes it like butter. And this is something I got used to with my Ibanez. See, those have medium frets and a very flat radius. And this follows the same formula. And you can get your action ridiculously low. I barely ever had to adjust the action on this or the intonation from the time I got it. I've adjusted it maybe 2-3 times ever in almost 10 years. So that's saying something. So something I wasn't aware of in the moment with this, and now that I'm older, I'm starting to feel it, is this bass is 11 pounds and 2 ounces. Just solid alder, no thought process put into how much it weighed. It was just made to be a chunk, and it is a chunk. But I really feel that now. Another thing to say about it is that having had it for a while, these tuners are starting to fail. You can see these are bigger. What's really happening is strange. There's a plastic piece here between the metal clover and the metal shaft here, and it starts to wear down. So I've had to replace these 2 with these similar looking ones. I don't know. I may go with something smaller eventually. This bass tries to neck dive a little. It doesn't dive. It more so tilts. And that's partially because This is a 35-inch scale, so the balance of where the strap hits isn't exactly the same as it is for a 34-inch scale bass. So this tilts a little bit. I may go with different tuning machines eventually, invest a little bit of money into it. Speaking of investing money into this, I would say one reason that I was excited about this bass is it was like $425 when I found it. It wasn't used and it wasn't new. It was sort of like new old stock. It was just kind of sitting around, like clearanced out, like they wanted to get rid of it. And I got the benefit of them wanting to get rid of it. It had scratchy pots at first, and it was volume, tone. So it was volume, neck pickup, volume, bridge, and tone. And so I had to get some pots replaced so they wouldn't be scratchy. And then I just rolled like that for a while. And then I would have been perfectly satisfied with it the way it was until, I don't know, something clicked one day. I really have no idea. I started to get really bored with the bass and I wanted to get rid of it. I don't know. I mean, throughout the same time that I had this, I also had at different times a Schecter Legend 5-string and Warwick Double Buck 5-string. And then I had my other Schecter Riot behind me, 5-string. Great bass, by the way. So the Schecter Riot I didn't get until 2020. The Schecter and the Warwick came and went because I couldn't set them up to play like this one. I couldn't get them exactly right. So I guess I got bored with this when I was playing my Riot, and I was also playing a little bit of my Sterling Stingray type, and I was just kind of bored with this bass altogether, and so I went through an EMG kick, and I decided I wanted to kit this bass out. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. This bass has had the unfortunate fate of being my guinea pig of wiring, and it bears permanent scars in these nicks. This is the worst. I tried to route out additional space under the pick guard, so you see a gape right there. This is because I got a pickup stuck in the bridge position. I had to pry it out, so I chipped some paint there. I forget what this scratch is from. I got a nice ding here. This crack is not from my wiring. This is just it falling and being dropped. I got cracks there and there. This thing is solid. I've even thought about relicking it just to sort of add to the dings, but at least I can say that these dings are job hazard. So first thing I wanted to do with this bass was go from volume tone to volume blend tone, or volume tone blend. I forget which one I did. And then I quickly learned that I don't really know how to wire very well. So I started turning to solderless means, and EMG came up, as well as Tone Monster. They have these terminal block wiring kits. So first I tried Tone Monster, and I just couldn't, mentally I didn't understand wiring well. So I did a really bad job, and this bass actually ended up sitting around for a while. Until one day I got a crazy idea that I was going to just go volume bass treble, take out the bridge pickup, put in an EMG neck pickup, change the pick guard, and use this spot where the bridge pickup was. I stuck a battery in there and electrical taped over it. That was actually really cool. The pick guard and the EMG pickup didn't fit right. One thing I should note about EMG pickups is when you buy a 5-string version, the one side has a magnet about that big, the other side has a magnet a little bit bigger. But the way that this bass is designed, it wasn't lining up properly, so I lost volume on the A string. Unless I scooted this half of the pickup this way, which I did for a little while, but it was just kind of janky, whatever, so I gave up. Another thing is I then tried different bridge pickups. There's a couple of videos online where I tried to do a 45P, so it's like a split P to match this P. It lost volume in the middle string as well. Then I did a DC. This bridge pickup positioning is really bad for almost anything, particularly humbuckers. They're really high output and you pick up a lot of nasally kindness toward the bridge. So I gave up on the bridge pickup and disconnected it and got this Nordstrand pickup, which I had to contact them about this particular magnet setup. Normally a 5-string, if you look up 5-string P bass split pickups, one will have 3 and one will have 2, and they'll be pushed to the side. And generally what happens is normal basses that are routed correctly will have one side picking up B, E, A, and then the other side with just D and G on that side of the pickup. This bass is not like that. So I had to contact them, get them to custom make this for me. They said it was weird, but they did it for me, which I am very thankful for. There's not a lot of other manufacturers who would be willing to do that, but if you, I don't know, find any sort of real custom shop, they can do something like this. I liked this as well because despite you seeing steel bar and steel bar, this notch in the middle doesn't mean that you're losing string sensing right there. It's just a notch to hold the cover. What that means is that this one could pick up anything from here to here, and then this one could pick up anything from here to here. As a matter of fact, if you had an even weirder, you could buy the 6-string version, which would have 2 bars that long. You could pick up all kinds of stuff. So I think this is a great option for those of you who have a weirdly routed P pickup set, or a bass with really wide string spacing, like this 19 millimeter. This wide string spacing causes this to be a 6-string pickup size, picking up 5 strings. And this is not my preference. It's just what this bass came with, and I'm rolling with it. Just recently, I had some noise going on with this bass. Again, I did finally do the wiring myself. And so I got in here and I fixed some soldering connections, and I raised this pickup, and it sort of breathed new life into this bass for me. The power blade kind of close to the strings, about that close, with D'Addario NYXL strings, which are a little bit brighter, a little bit more powerful, has made this bass sound really good, like almost to the level where it's hard for me to compare anything to it. Now, I do want to do a comparison because it's very close between this and the DiMarzio Relentless pickup, which is what's in this bass. Now, the DiMarzio does not come in a 5-string, so this wins for 5-string. This is great for 4. Also, this distance from the strings, if you can see that, has about the same output as this. So this DiMarzio is a monster. The output is kind of ridiculous. So in an effort to balance it a little bit better, I've lowered it this far. I would say that now that I've got this closer and this farther, this has a little bit more output, but it's barely. I've watched some videos with the power blade pickup, and I should note that I think for your best bet with this pickup, you want to get kind of close to the strings. You want to use 500K pots if you can, not the stock Fender style 250. These have a lot of bass output, but they're actually really bright and clear, particularly if you do this 500K thing. If you could put it into some kind of active system, I think it would really shine there. I even put in a funky tone knob with a push-pull for a mid-contour. I don't really like it. I thought it would be useful to have some kind of hidden feature, but I don't know. The only time I found myself using it is if something sounds too mid-rangey, I'll cut some mids out. But that hasn't really been the case so far. I don't think this pickup nor this bass will be a good choice for people who like the vintage Fender split coil sound. This is much higher output. It's bassier. It is more rolled off in the treble, and the higher frequencies sound different than they do with a vintage Fender, like an Alnico split coil. They're still there, they just sound different, and they're in a different spectrum. So this for me is better than stock. The stock pickup in here was another ceramic pickup, and it was really hot wound. It was something like 11K, which isn't really that high, but the way they did it was nasally, and it worked pretty well. You blend the two pickups, but I didn't like doing the two volume knobs. So I found myself keep using the neck pickup, and I didn't really like the tone of just the neck pickup. So that brings us to where we're at now. I should note that just out of an abundance of caution, I pulled this bridge pickup out, cut the wires completely, and then there were, these are steel poles. There were ceramic magnets on the bottom, two of them. They were epoxied in, and I sat there and I chipped away at the epoxy and I pulled the magnets out. So this is having no impact on the strings. It's purely just the neck pickup, like actually just the neck pickup. So this power blade is powerful, and it does have a lot of low end, and it has a lot of sustain, and it has a really good tone that sounds like a P bass, not like a humbucker. I tried their Zen blades and I didn't like them as much as this. Still a great pickup, but this is much superior for my tastes as far as a pickup from Nordstrand. Definitely my favorite from them. All right, now we will actually get into pros and cons. So I'm going to start with cons on this bass. It's very heavy. I don't like the really wide string spacing here. And that's not actually due to the right hand, it's due to the left hand. Because once I get up to about the 9th fret to the 12th fret, the neck is really wide here. That's about like a 6-string Ibanez neck width, which is not my favorite. But the neck's pretty skinny from front to back. The fretboard's pretty flat, and the frets are kind of low, and it feels buttery. So I'm willing to put up with some of the things that I don't really like in favor of the things that this bass does really well. So for any show that's, I don't know, like less than an hour, or maybe even just an hour long, I have no problem with putting up with the weight of this. Other cons is that the stock pickups are of a really weird size. So I'm not really saying anything negative about the sound of them. It just depends on if it's your preference or not. But if you want to replace this or this, you got to get some weird stuff. This one may not be so bad because anything EMG 45 size will fit in here. The screws will go in at the ends rather than here, but it'll fit. And if it's a bar magnet, it'll pick up all the strings. This, on the other hand, is strange. So I found out that the Bill Lawrence P45 or P46, it has a bunch of pull pieces that'll fit in here. The Lace Aluma P will work for this because of the way that the bar magnet is. So those are good. And then any custom builder that will do something like this, where the magnet's in the middle of one and in the middle of the other, but space like this will be good. And pretty much anything that's like a 6-string custom that's not, I should note that Fender makes P bass pickups like this where one side is longer than the other. You can't use those for this. I went so far as to think about routing out a bigger pickup here and there to achieve what I want, but this was a great idea. I'm really glad that I went with this and discovered for myself how good of a pickup this is, because it seemed like my only option at the time, but now I know that it's such a good option that I would use it. Pros of this bass is that it does a good bit of different things stock. So it had a coil split for this. That's kind of cool. It had 2 different pickups in different positions. You could do some different tones based on what it is. It's got really rock solid hardware, including a Graphtec nut. The tuners are really good. I didn't have any problems with them for like about 9 years, so that's really good. the way that the neck feels and the fretboard feels are really good to me. Um, maybe not for everybody, but they were good to me. You probably don't want to try to go with any active wiring as a mod. Like I put in a battery box and tried the EMG setup so that I could actually do both pickups, but the space under this pick guard isn't very good. I really prefer rear. I don't know, maybe not bad for everybody. It's got 21 frets. It's one more fret than a Fender P bass. You may be wondering why I don't like Fender. I don't like the 9.5-inch fretboard radius. That's really the biggest thing. It's just that 9.5-inch fretboard radius. I like 12 or above, right? So the 16 may be the gold standard for me. I've got 12 on some other basses. I don't know what the glare is, but it's really flat. Oh, and I compared this to Schecter's new P5 model that they have, and that bass felt subpar. I don't know how to describe it. I should know these are made in South Korea, and every bass I've felt and guitar I've felt made from South Korea has been really, really good, and I felt a lot of really good Indonesian made ones, but the Indonesian Schecters left something to be desired when I felt it. I don't know how to explain it. Now, a Schecter C5 that I compared to this was really good, and that was made in Indonesia. So don't say that I'm saying something bad about a whole country of origin, right? I'm just saying specifically, if I compared this to their new P model, I much prefer this. The problem is you're going to have a hard time finding this if you want to get one. They also did a really interesting active model in some cool colors that had narrower string spacing, right? So I don't know. It's a shame I didn't find that first.